Assalamu guys, Irfan back again with another video, and this video I'm making a response to a post on a group on Facebook, and the person who had made that post wanted to know how they could refer to sheets using drop downs. Whenever you have, and the name of the sheets would appear in the drop down. So the person wanted to know how could that person refer to data in a specific sheet depending on which sheet name is selected from the drop down. Okay, so let's get started. So we have our Excel open here. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to just rename this as the main sheet. Okay. Now, I'm going to assume that I have a company in which I have 5 employees, and they all earn commissions based on their job performance, based on the sales maybe. So let's put in some names here. Names, I'm just putting the headings. Okay, so we've got names and commission. Okay, so we could have an employee called Angela. We could have Dave, Jim. Let's have a Julie and Robert. Okay, and then we have the total. So this is the just going to put borders around it. Excuse me. And this is the total. And this is the heading. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we'll have sheets, one sheet for each month, and depending on which drop down, which month you have selected, this sheet here would get populated from with data from that particular sheet. Again, depending on the drop down. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to add a few blank sheets, one for each month. So we'll have, I'm going to insert 12 sheets, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so I've got 12 sheets here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this as Jan 2020. I'm going to rename this as Feb 2020, March 2020, April 2020, May 2020, June 2020, July 2020, August 2020, September 2020, oops, sorry, October 2020, November 2020, and December 2020. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this table into each sheet, because what I want to do is basically I'm going to have for each employee, for, each month we'll have a similar table which lists the commissions that that particular employee has earned during that month. And the main sheet, what we'll do is we'll have a drop down here. So you select the month from the drop down, and this table will update accordingly. Okay, so let's copy this into each sheet. Now I'm just going to copy it to Jan for now, and I'll tell you why. What we need to do is we need to plug in some dummy data here. Okay, and then this will be the total of the commission. And let's put a total formula here as well, is equal to sum, and so these two. Okay, now here also what we'll do is we'll put a sum. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Excel populate these cells with random commission numbers. Okay, so let me use a random command. We have a rand between. What we do is It returns a random number between the numbers that you specify. So I'm going to give a high limit and a low limit. I'm just going to have it automatically generate random numbers between 30,000 to 60,000, assuming that these employees earn commission anywhere from 30,000 to 60,000. It could be anything, but just for example, I'm just going to have it give Excel those limits to generate numbers. Okay, so between 30,000, 60,000. Okay, and I'm just going to pull this down. And you see what it has done is has given each a specific a random commission number, and I'm also going to format this as a currency. Okay, I need dollar and I don't need any decimal places. There you go. Excuse me. So Angela earned 56,923. Dave earned 44,725. So anytime we do anything with this sheet, it's going to recalculate. And what we'll do is just like I click here, hit on the formula, click on and then hit enter. Everything rechanges. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and now copy this to the rest of the months, and then I'll do a paste as value, so these numbers get locked. They don't keep changing on us. Okay. So I'm just going to copy this. January, I'm going to copy February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a copy and then paste as value. Okay. The reason why I'm going to do that is so these values don't change. I'm just going to copy and paste as value. Copy, paste as value. I'm going to do that for each sheet. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm locking the values for each sheet. Okay, there you go. Oops, sorry. Control C, Control C, and then paste as value. Copy, paste as value. Copy, paste as value. Copy, paste as value. Copy, paste as value. And then we have December, paste as value. So now if I go back, see if Jan, I've got 54,000 for Angela, 41,000 for Dave, and I've got 32 and 56,000 for February, 53, 53, 38. So basically what we have done is we have made sure that they don't change on us now. Okay, so you see how they as I change months, now they have the numbers here. So now basically when I do a paste as value, I've locked those values in, the values that I had Excel generate using the random function. Okay, now with that out of the way, now what we're going to do is excuse me, over here I'm going to create a drop down. So I'm just going to color it in yellow. This is where the drop down is going to go, and I'll just put the text here, month, and here we'll have the drop down from which we can select. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a worksheet here, and I'm going to call this drop down. Okay, now the reason why I'm doing that is I need to in order to create the drop down, there are two ways of doing it. Okay, well, I'm sorry, I think I put the yellow in the last here. Yeah, let me get rid of this too. I need to come back to the main sheet. This is going to be the drop down, and this is going to be the month. Okay, now there are two ways of creating a drop down. We can either go to data and go to data validation, select data validation, select any, instead of any value, we select list, and then we can type the list in. So it could be Jan 2020, could be February 2023, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you see, Those are the drop downs. Now, but we don't want to do it that way. Okay, what we want to do is we might have want to change these states, these names later on. So what we'll do is we'll create a column. It's called drop down, and then we'll have that drop down linked to this sheet and pick up the names. Okay, so we have Jan 2020, and then we have February 2020. But there we have a problem. Okay, when I do that, Excel automatically puts it in date format. Excel thinks it's a date, so no worries. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this down. I'm just going to say month. Oops, sorry. Month text. What I'm going to do is in this column, I'm going to convert this into this format down here. Okay. First, what I need to do is drag this down all the way to December. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the text formula. Text function. And it says converts a value to text in specific number format. Okay. Now the value is this guy here, and the format is I need it to be the 3 letters of the month. So 3 months, inverted commas and close bracket. So that gives me Jan. Okay. So I'm closer to this guy here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ampersand to, add a string to it, and open double quotes, space, 2020, those quotes. There you go. Now this is in, double click and send the formula down. Now these are exactly in this way. Okay. Now I can use this column with the drop down. Okay. So I go to data validation, list, and the source is going to be this guy here. Click on OK. Now you see that's the drop downs. So I can select January, I can select February, March, and so forth. Now, if I select April, I want it to over here. What I want is it to go to this sheet, pull these figures, and bring them down here. Okay. Now, this is where the indirect function comes in. Now, with the indirect, what you do is you are creating a cell reference. You can create dynamically because the cell reference can be based on a formula. Okay, so let's get started. Let's first see what the indirect function looks like. These are the reference cell and then an optional parameter. Now, what we need to do is that reference cell needs to, when you simplify it, you can have cells in it, you can have functions in it, but when you solve the reference cell string, it should become like a standard cell reference, and that allows Excel to go and pull data from that reference you just created using this indirect function. So let me go here. Now, here's where we will start punching in the formula. Now, one thing, when you if I was going to pull a data from January, okay, I would say is equal to, and I go here, click, okay. Now, let's look at the formula. Is equal to, and then Jan 2020, the sheet name is within single quotes, and then you have an exclamation mark, and then you have the reference cell of that sheet. Okay, so we have to keep that, and I'm going to get rid of this equal sign, so that leaves, it does not solve the function, it just leaves the let me just do this. Now you can see, don't worry about the last quotation, but the reason why I had to do that is because the single quote was, was getting limited by Excel. Now we have got single quote, the sheet name, single quote, so basically closing a single quote, you're putting an inverted, exclamation mark, and then the cell reference. Okay, so that's using that as a key, what we're going to do is we're going to try and create this. Now, this Jan 2020 that's over here, that would be basically this cell here. Okay. So we type indirect. Okay. Now we are, because we are now making this part of a form of making it, putting this to a formula, we need to put a single quote within a double quote. Okay. Then we put an ampersand, so we are attaching it, we are concatenating whatever is in this cell here. Okay. Now, in fact, let me just get rid of this so you can see what that would look like. See, this is how it will look like. And this F2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this. When I drag this formula down, this doesn't become F3 and F4 and F5 and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, again, we need to put a single quote to close this single quote. Okay. Then we put an exclamation mark. Okay. And I'm just going to close this for now, just to tell you. Now over here, this is cell B2. Okay. So over here, what we would need is B2. But over here it will be B2, then B3 and B4. So what we need to do is this B2, B3, the number after the B also needs to automatically increment every time we go down. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a row number. Okay. So I'm going to put a B inside the double quotes, and then I'm going to use the ampersand again and put row number. Okay. So it's B2. If I come down all the way down, see how it's B2, B3, B4, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now what we do is I'm just going to put it inside the indirect command or function. Sorry. Okay, let's see what we are missing here. Okay. So this is giving us a reference error, and that is because right now we've got the month selected as APR, short for April 2020, and we've got the whole sheet named here. So what we need to do is just fix this name as a 3-letter name, and that should fix it. Okay. And we will push this down. Now I'm also going to change the format, make it currency, and don't want any decimals. There you go. Now we've got April. Let's select another month. Let's select May. See how this changed. Angela in May supposedly earned 31,042. So let's check. Angela 31,042. Dave 58,310. Dave 58,310. Jim 54,525. 54,525. So these are correct. Okay. Now if I say for example select Jan, Angela 54,026. 54,026. Dave 41,531. 41,531. Jim 51,697. 51,697. So our formula is working. So that's how you use an indirect command to reference a cell that's on a different sheet, and the cell that the sheet name can come from a drop down. Now you can get really fancy, and you can also, if you want, you can have the cell that, like in this case we are going by B2, B3, B4. Okay, so you can get fancy and have the drop down also select which column you want and which row you want, and you can get really fancy, and the sheet that you want. So you can have data coming from different sheets, and within each sheet from a different row and cell. and all from three sets of drop downs. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please kindly give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please subscribe and make sure you hit the bell icon so you always get notifications when new videos are uploaded. Thank you.